There's this person, maybe an ex, maybe an old friend who hurt you, maybe a coworker you genuinely couldn't stand. And they're gone now, out of your life. And that's what you wanted. But then, one random Tuesday, you miss them. Not in a big, dramatic way. Just this quiet, dull ache. Like something is missing. Even though you know that person was not good for you. And the weird part? The more you try to shake it off, the stronger it gets. So what's actually happening in your head right now? Because I promise you this isn't weakness. This isn't you being confused. Your brain is doing something very specific. And once you understand it, it actually makes a lot of sense. Here's the first thing you need to know. When you miss someone, anyone, your brain isn't actually replaying that person. It's replaying a feeling. Think about it. When you get nostalgic about someone you didn't even like that much, you're usually not thinking about the arguments, or the disappointment, or the way they made you feel small sometimes. You're thinking about a specific moment, a laugh, a night, a version of yourself you were back then. There's a part of your brain deep in there called the limbic system. It's old. It doesn't reason. It doesn't sit down and weigh pros and cons. It just stores feeling. And when something, a song, a smell, a quiet Sunday afternoon triggers a memory, your brain doesn't pull up the full picture. It pulls up the emotional highlight. So when you miss someone difficult, you're often not missing them. You're missing a feeling they were attached to. The comfort of familiarity. The version of your life that existed around them. The way things felt during that time, even if that time had pain in it. This is why people miss toxic relationships. Not because they were blind, but because the brain is literally selective about what it stores as nostalgia. It edits out the bad parts, like a film where someone removed all the boring scenes, and what's left looks kind of beautiful. Okay, so now let me tell you about something called the mere exposure effect. It sounds technical, but it's actually really simple. The more you're exposed to something, a song, a food, a person, the more your brain starts to associate it with safety. Not because that thing is actually safe, but because your brain has learned to predict it. And your brain loves to predict things. Predictability feels like control, and control feels like safety. So that person you didn't like, you still spent time around them. You still built a pattern with them. Your nervous system learned their rhythm, the way they talked, the way they responded, even the way they disappointed you. It became familiar. And when familiar things disappear, there's a gap, a strange, uncomfortable gap. And your brain reads that gap as loss. Not because the person was valuable, but because the pattern is broken. It's almost like, you know, when you sleep on one side of the bed for years, and then one night you can't sleep, even though you have the whole bed to yourself. It's not that you want to be cramped. It's that your body is used to it. People work the same way. When someone is gone, even someone who made things harder part of your nervous system is still looking for them, still expecting the pattern to continue. And that expectation, when it finds nothing, that's what we call missing someone. Here's where it gets interesting. Your brain has a very specific reaction to things that are unresolved. There's actually a name for it, the Zeigarnik effect. But forget the name for a second. Here's what it means in real life. Your brain holds on to incomplete things much longer than completed ones. Think about a TV show that ended without closure, or an argument you never finished, or a question that was never answered. That stuff stays with you. It takes up mental space. It loops. Now apply that to people. If a relationship, even a bad one, ended without real closure, your brain files it as unfinished business, not because you want to go back, but because something in you is still trying to make sense of it, still trying to figure out what it meant. And missing someone, sometimes, is just your brain circling back to an open file. It's not love. It's not even fondness. It's your mind trying to complete a story it never got to finish. This is why you can miss someone you resented for years, because the resentment itself is a sign that the story was never resolved. You were still in reaction to them, and when they disappear, the reaction has nowhere to go. So it turns into this strange, hollow ache that feels like missing, but it's actually your mind reaching for resolution that never came. This one takes a second to sit with. A lot of the time, not always, but a lot when you miss someone from your past. You're actually missing a version of yourself. Think about who you were when that person was in your life. Maybe you were younger. Maybe you felt more certain about things. Maybe life was simpler, even if it was messier. Maybe you had more time. Maybe you had more hope. That person, even if they were difficult, was present during that version of you. And when they're gone, it's not just them that's gone. It's a whole chapter. Psychologists have this idea that relationships become part of our identity. Not in a dramatic way, just quietly, the way someone's habits become background noise in your life. And when that noise stops, you feel a little less like yourself. Not because that person completed you, but because they were witness to a version of you that no longer exists. And sometimes, especially when things didn't end well, the grief isn't really about them. It's about the person you were before things got complicated. The you that still had that relationship ahead of them. The you that hadn't been hurt yet. The you that was, maybe, a little more open. That's who you're missing. And that kind of grief, it's one of the quietest, most honest kinds there is. Last thing, and this might be the strangest part of all of this. Your brain, when trying to protect you from pain, does something almost counterintuitive. It makes the past look better than it was. There's a reason for this. Psychologists call it rosy retrospection, this built-in filter where your brain softens painful memories over time, not to trick you, but almost like a survival mechanism. Because if your brain forced you to relive every hard moment in full detail, you'd be overwhelmed. So it dims the hard parts, brightens the warm ones, and what you're left with is this edited version of the past that feels like it must have been better than the present. Add that to an unresolved ending, and a person you shared any kind of real time with, and your brain has enough material to build something that feels like genuine longing, even for someone who, in reality, made your life harder. This isn't a malfunction. It's just what brains do. The problem only starts when we act on it, when we confuse the nostalgic version of a person for who they actually were. When we go back, when we reach out, when we reopen a chapter, the story was better off leaving closed. And most of the time, we already know. We already know it wasn't as good as it looks from here. So, you miss someone you didn't even like. Maybe now you know why. It's not weakness. It's not confusion. It's not some sign that you need to go back. It's your brain doing what it was built to do, holding on to patterns, protecting you from grief, looking for resolution in places it can't find any. And sometimes, just understanding that is enough to let the ache get a little quieter. You don't have to act on it. You just have to notice it. I'm curious though. Is there someone like this in your life? Someone you know wasn't good for you, but part of you still misses them? Drop it in the comments. Just say yes, or tell the story, whichever you're comfortable with, because I think more people relate to this than they'd ever admit out loud. And sometimes it helps to know you're not the only one who feels things that don't quite make sense. I'll see you in the next one.